Welcome to the Give and Go. My name's Tim, and today on 32 for 32, we're going through recent transactions that have happened all day across the NFL. We're going team by team in the NFC North and AFC North, and making predictions for this upcoming year in those divisions. So let's start off with the transactions that have happened today and this weekend across the NFL. So, first off, it all started with Mario Addison receiving a 3-year, $22.5 million extension with Carolina. Then, Carolina also gave Kwan Short the franchise tag, almost paying him $13.5 million this season. Chandler Jones also got a 1-year franchise tag from the Cardinals, which is about $17 million for an outside linebacker. Wes Horton for the Carolina Panthers signed a 2-year extension with Carolina. Andrew Hawkins, a wide receiver for Cleveland, was released as well. In addition, Antonio Brown was the highest paid wide receiver today in the NFL, receiving approximately $74 million over a 5-year extension. Le'Veon Bell with Pittsburgh was offered the franchise tag as well. JPP with the New York Giants was also given the franchise tag, making him another $17 million deal this offseason. We're also going to say that Laurent Duvernay-Tardif with the Kansas City Chiefs became a $42.5 millionaire today with an extension from Kansas City. And it's been a crazy day across the NFL with all these different contracts. In addition, this weekend, Nick Mangold was released by the New York Jets. Offseason has been in full swing now, and free agency is starting March 9th, so I can't wait to see what happens. This week, we're going to start off with the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens, which last year went 8-8 and was honestly a mediocre year overall for the Baltimore Ravens. So what do they have to do this year? They should either restructure or cut Elvis Dumervil, determine what players must be cap casualties. So those could be Dennis Pitta, Ladarius Webb, Mike Wallace. They should also resolve the tight end situation, as they have 4 good tight ends with Dennis Pitta, Ben Watson, Max Williams, and Crockett Gilmore. So choose to cut the rest. They should also determine what players to re-sign. I think they should re-sign Brandon Williams and maybe re-sign Kamar Aiken and let Matt Elam walk after what happened over this past weekend, finding him with drugs in Florida. So I think that's definitely part of that. They should also try to re-sign Ricky Wagner, although the money might cost too much for the right tackle. And they should try to place a 5th-year option on C.J. Mosley, as he's become a great inside linebacker for the Ravens. So, in conclusion, the Baltimore Ravens are a team made by good coaching with a depleted offense and a mediocre at best defense. The staff has consistently pulled off miracles, and with adding some more talent, this team could potentially make a playoff run, although they will always hover between 8-8 and 11-5 until better players arrive in Baltimore. Next up, we're talking about the Cleveland Browns, who have had a busy offseason in comparison to many other teams. They've already released cornerback Tramon Williams and quarterback Josh McCown. They have re-signed Jamie Collins to a 4-year, $50 million extension. There's rumors circulating about Tyrod Taylor to Cleveland, and they also cut on Andrew Hawkins today. So it's been a crazy offseason in Cleveland, which is great for Browns fans, honestly, truly. So the first thing that Browns have to do this offseason is decide their future at quarterback. They could keep RG3 and Cody Kessler and just ride the ship for now and wait till next year. I don't recommend that. I think that they should cut RG3, keep Kessler, and go after a quarterback on a trade, such as Garoppolo, Romo, or Tyrod. Honestly, I think Garoppolo is the best option out of 3, but Tyrod might be a close second. They could also sign a free agent like Kirk Cousins, Colin Kaepernick, Mike Glennon, Matt Barkley, Matt Schaub. There are plenty of options, which aren't that great, honestly, but they're, again, plentiful. They could also draft a quarterback with Deshaun Kaiser, Deshaun Watson, Mitch Trubisky, Mahone, Davis Webb. So they have mediocre quarterbacks, again, in the draft class. So the draft class is weak this year at quarterback. Or they could always just start Kessler and see where that goes. Their cap casualty should be RG3 and Desmond Bryant. And for free agency, I think this upcoming week they should franchise Terrell Pryor, as they have over $100 million in cap room. They should sign restricted free agent Isaiah Crowell to a 2nd or 3rd round tender. They should let Josh Gordon walk, even though the Browns fans, of course, have a love affair with him. And spend at least $60 million in cap space this offseason. Leaving cap space available is really one of the worst decisions by a general manager. So I definitely think that they should use all their cap space if possible. So overall, the Browns are a young team with a passionate fan base. Even though they are talent depleted, their equity in cap space and draft picks could allow them to climb out of the bottom of the league. If not, Hugh Jackson will return to being an offensive coordinator, and Cleveland will be looking for yet another GM. So definitely go after a quarterback and start rebuilding that franchise right quick after a 1-15 season this past year. Next, we're talking about the 6-9-1 Cincinnati Bengals, who honestly underachieved this past season with all that talent across the board on their offense and defense. So, what do they have to do? I think they should re-sign Kevin Zeitler from free agency, maybe re-sign Domata Peko, Drake Kirkpatrick, and possibly Rex Burkhead, their running back that came in for at the end of the season for Giovanni Bernard. And I think they should let go Brandon LaFell. Andrew Whitworth is an enigma, honestly. He's old, but he'll cost a lot of money. And he's a good left tackle, although they already have Cedric Ogbuehi and Jake Fisher at the two tackle positions. Two young, talented offensive tackles. They should decide to either pick up Darqueze Dennard's fifth-year option or not. I think they should wait on it and see what he can do this season and decide next year. And they should look to extend or let other players play out their contract for 2018, such as Tyler Eifert, Russell Bodine, Jeremy Hill, and Vontaze Burfict. They should also spend some money to help out AJ Green and Andy Dalton outside on the perimeter because they lost Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu this past offseason, and find someone to help fix their playoff woes as they went to the playoffs, I believe, 5 years in a row and did not win one single game in the playoffs. So, in conclusion, the Cincinnati Bengals are a young, talented team with very few holes to fill. Although they have made the playoffs consistently, failing to add weapons around Andy Dalton and instilling discipline within the team will result in Marvin Lewis looking at another first-round playoff exit and a place on the couch next March. Finally, in the AFC North, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who made some huge moves today with franchising Le'Veon Bell and re-signing Antonio Brown. So they already took care of my first priority, which is tag Le'Veon Bell. And so they have to use their other cap space wisely now that they have two big contracts at two huge skill positions. They need to decide to re-sign Lawrence Timmons or Jarvis Jones and possibly re-sign D'Angelo Williams, James Harrison, and maybe a luxury in Marcus Wheaton, although they have plenty of depth at that position with Martavis Bryant coming back this year. They should pursue a top cornerback in free agency or the draft to play opposite Artie Burns, and they should draft a future quarterback for when Ben leaves, as he's been talking about retirement this offseason. So, in conclusion, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good team with a quickly closing window, with a young good defense and the best trio in the NFL with Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown. The time is now to add key pieces to a defense that would put them closer to New England and the AFC. By re-signing key players and drafting well, this team could compete for a championship. If not, Cincinnati and Baltimore could creep up, and they're on the doorstep waiting to pounce. So, based off of what I've seen this offseason, I'm projecting that Pittsburgh will once again win the division, with Cincinnati coming in second, Baltimore third, and unfortunately Cleveland fourth, which I've not seen any consistency yet from the Cleveland front office. They're talking about not even franchising Terrell Pryor, which I believe is a mistake after letting Andrew Hawkins walk this offseason. Next up, we're moving to the NFC North with Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit, and Green Bay. Starting off with Chicago, who last year went 3-13 and currently hold the number 3 pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. They first have to figure out their quarterback situation, just like Cleveland. Jay Cutler, he's been there for 8 years after he came over in a trade from Denver, and I think it's time to let him go. Cut bait. They should also try to bring back either Brian Hoyer or Matt Barkley, as they were competing pretty well, and they could compete with the rookie quarterback this offseason. And I don't think they should trade for Jimmy G, as the Browns should, because their draft assets aren't really positioned the right way that New England wants them. They should draft a quarterback either in the first or second round with Kaiser, Watson, Trubisky, Webb, or Mahone, as those are readily available, decent talents that could be either groomed behind Brian Hoyer or compete with Matt Barkley for the starting job. They should also cut bait on Lamar Houston and Tracy Porter and decide on bringing back free agent players such as Ted Larson, Matt Barkley, Alshon Jeffrey, Sam Acho, Josh Bellamy, and Brian Hoyer. I think that Alshon Jeffrey's time in Chicago is up, and I think he should move on to better teams after he got suspended this year. Overall, just like Philadelphia, the Bears are 2+ years away. With key pieces on defense and adding a quarterback with good protection, the Bears could begin to make themselves relevant again, escaping the Jay Cutler era. If not, John Fox will finally be done as a coach, and the Bears will once again have a top 5 pick next spring. Next, we're moving on to the 9-7 Detroit Lions, who honestly made a great comeback this past year from where they were at the beginning of the year. So they need to re-sign key offensive linemen this year, such as Larry Warford and Riley Reif, to protect Matt Stafford. And they also got to determine what other free agents to bring back, such as Anquan Boldin, who would provide a huge locker room presence, John Bostic, Raphael Bush, Asa Jackson, or Joik Bell. Honestly, I think Anquan Boldin is a priority for that team besides the 2 offensive linemen, and they could determine the other ones later. They should also decide if they want to keep Haloti Ngata, as he will cost a lot of money and he's getting up there in age. And they shouldn't pick up Eric Ebron's 5th-year option, so that way they can motivate him to do better this year. Next year is a huge free agent class for the Detroit Lions, with Matt Stafford, Ezekiel Ansah, Glover Quinn, Tahir Whitehead, Zach Zenner, and Haloti Ngata all being free agents. They definitely need to re-sign Matt Stafford and Ezekiel Ansah this offseason, so that way they don't have to get into any franchise tag situation next year. In conclusion, the Detroit Lions are a team in need of depth and a winning culture, as they have not won the division since 1992 with Barry Sanders. By adding pieces to the secondary and keeping the offensive line intact, this team could once again make the playoffs and challenge the Packers for an NFC North title. If Bob Quinn fails to address these positions, the Lions will flounder between 7-9 and 9-7, with Jim Caldwell likely gone in 2018. Next, we're talking about the Green Bay Packers, who honestly, truly are surviving just purely on the talent and creativity of Aaron Rodgers alone, as that offensive scheme is one of the worst in the NFL. No creativity at all, just one-step hitch. So honestly, I think that is their number one priority. Fix the offense, add creativity to it, make Aaron Rodgers unstoppable this upcoming year. So they also have to use their cap space wisely to re-sign key players such as TJ Lang, Nick Perry, Micah Hyde, and possibly Detone Jones and J.C. Tretter. I think they should also let go Julius Peppers, Jared Cook, Eddie Lacy, and Don Barkley, as they've been okay, but again, the Green Bay Packers want to make the Super Bowl, and mediocrity is not an option. They should also place the 5th-year option on HaHa Clinton-Dix, find linebackers and defensive tackles to beef up that defense. Overall, the Green Bay Packers are a solid team with a few holes on defense and the running game. If they stay healthy and Mike McCarthy evolves, the Packers could be headed to the Super Bowl. If not, the Packers will continue to revel in the if-only mentality, as, when are we going to make the Super Bowl next? So finally, in the NFC North, we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings, who honestly are in that mid area, and they've been up and they've been down over the past couple years, especially since Teddy Bridgewater tore his ACL in a sad story last August. So I think their first priority is get rid of Adrian Peterson, as he has had off the field issues and he hasn't been that productive since coming back last year. He missed 14 games this past year with meniscus tear, and he was very, very unproductive over the 3 games that he actually played. They should determine which free agents to re-sign. Andre Smith, Matt Asiata, Adam Thielen, and Charles Johnson could be options, but they should let go of Matt Khalil, Captain Munnerlyn, and Chad Greenway, as they already have depth at those positions, and they're getting a little bit up there in age, and they haven't been productive enough. They should place a 5th-year option on Anthony Barr at linebacker, and they have to draft Sam Bradford weapons. Joe Mixon's available, Christian McCaffrey. The running back class is so deep, and the wide receiver class is really good as well. They should also prepare for next year's free agency and re-sign Sharif Floyd and Xavier Rose. In conclusion, Minnesota was on the verge of making the playoffs last year, but fell apart down the stretch. By adding running backs and wide receivers in the draft, Minnesota could drive their way into the playoffs with a great defense and a good offense. If not, the past 2 years will be known as the years without Teddy. So, who do I think will be the best in the NFC North this upcoming year? I'm going to keep with the Green Bay Packers, the obvious choice, as they have the most talent and they have one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history with Aaron Rodgers. In second place, I think it will probably be Detroit, as they have an overall complete offense and they're going to be adding pieces this offseason. I'm going to keep with Minnesota at number 3 and Chicago at number 4, who is continually rebuilding over the course of the year. So, thank you for watching the Give and Go. Please subscribe to this video, like this video. We will be updating next week with the AFC West, NFC West, free agent predictions from me, and getting into the nitty-gritty of football. See you later.
She ain't never seen God in the bleeding, only seen God in the bleeding.